Again, appreciate all of you all for joining from wherever you are in the world this evening. Tonight, we're going to talk about agritourism planning, and this is for our homesteading series. So if you're unaware, we do offer these homesteading series every other Tuesday in the colder months. And we cover a various of topics, anything from herbs to cut flowers. We've done a couple agritourism ones now. And our planning coordinators that are located around the state really do a good job with those. So if you have any suggestions or you want to know anything, they're great people to reach out to and to get the idea on the agenda. But just a couple housekeeping things. This is being recorded. Like I said, we're going to post it to our YouTube channel after we're done. It will be edited. So all of our chit chat will be out of that and posted to our YouTube channel for farmers to go look at for a resource. And then if you have any background noise, just make sure to mute while you're not talking. But it looks like we're going to be rolling on this evening.
Do y'all hear any wind or leaves rustling here? Or
no?
All right.
Nope, you're good, Josh. So just introducing all of our speakers this evening. We have Josh Bennett. He is from Hawk Knob Cidery in Lewisburg. We have Michelle Wilfrong from CW's Corn Days. And Michelle, tell us the name of your sheep farm. What does that operate under?
We're just Wilfong Farms.
Wilfrong Farms, okay. And then we also have Elizabeth and Frank Dix from Kirkwood Winery joining us from Outer Banks this evening. So appreciate you guys joining in on your vacation. And then, like I said, Betsy Metz and her husband Chris operate Cedar Run Farms, and they are a maple and Christmas tree producer as well as in our West Virginia growing program. So with that, we'll get rolling. How we'll do this is I'll just give everybody no more than 10 minutes just to kind of talk about your farm or business, the events that you all host yearly, and any information that you want to add about how to host an event on your farm. I do have a list of questions here that we'll get to ask. And then we'll just kind of answer those like a panel. But first, I will play Betsy's video so you guys can kind of see what she talked about, and then I'll turn it over to one of you. So give me 1 second to share my screen. I have to find the right window. Okay, can everybody see that? Okay.
Yep.
All right, here we go.
I'm not getting sound.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. There's a checkbox here I have to click somewhere.
Hey Maggie, it's right before you share your screen. As the options pop up, there's a little checkbox right there.
Okay, so right beside the leave button, is that where you're talking, Ashley? Share content. Oh, include computer sound. Got it. All right, let me start this over.
Hi, I'm Betsy Metz. I am one of the owners of Cedar Run Farm.
Can you hear
which
that,
is a
everybody?
maple syrup and Christmas tree farm in Tyler County, West Virginia. I own Cedar Run Farm along with my husband, Chris Metz, and my parents-in-law, Bill and Debbie Metz. We established Cedar Run Farm in 2010. And we have grown since that time with our maple syrup farm and Christmas tree farm. We are approximately a 6,000 tap, maple tree tap operation that we tap trees off of 2 properties, Chris and I, our farm property, and my parents-in-law, Bill and Debbie Metz. We have about 4,000 taps on our farm and approximately 2,000 taps on my parents-in-law's property. So we transport sap by truck from their property to our property to process in our sugar house. So we typically have a few hosting events on our maple farm, pardon me. Every year, we started out with doing the Mountain State Maple Days events, which are on the dates that are set by the West Virginia Maple Syrup Producers Association. And there's a few of those in the winter. Your maple sugaring season is in the winter between January and March, depending on the weather. So those open house dates and Mountain State Maple Days is during that time. So we started out doing hosting events for tours on those dates, and we've continued to do that, and we've added a couple extra touring event dates every year outside of that, just a couple, one in April, and now we're doing one in October. And the way we conduct those events is that we provide tours, scheduled tours of the woods where our sap lines are and of our sugar house. So a tour takes about an hour after everybody walks out to the woods. It's about a 1/4 mile walk on gravel out to the woods, and then come back to the sugar house and complete the tour in the sugar house, where we have our equipment that we use to process the syrup once it's pumped back to the sugar house from the woods from our tubing system. So we always let people know what to expect on the tour. They're going to be going on that walk. They're going to be in gravel. We let people know to wear appropriate footwear for that type of a tour. And so people are aware of whether they can do that or not and what to wear. So that's how we do the tours. That's kind of the main thing that we do as part of the events. But we also have a retail shop that is connected, a part of our sugar house, where we have all of our syrup products and our infused maple syrups and our maple sugar set up in our retail shop for sale. We do some sampling, haven't done that during COVID, but typically everything else being normal, we do sampling for people to taste the different syrups and flavors. So we have that available. We always get a restaurant to come to our events to prepare a maple themed meal for people to purchase while they're there. So we have a local restaurant, the Boxcar in St. Mary's, that comes and does different maple themed meals for people to buy while they're there. We also have maple treats that we make while people are there. We either do like a maple latte or a maple Italian cream soda. We also make maple cotton candy, in the fall, maple caramel apples. So then we have those for sale as well. And that's really about it. So between purchasing syrup, going on a tour, and getting something to eat, that's typically what happens at our events. Those events are on our website at cedarrunfarm.com under our events tab. And we also promote that on Facebook. We do a lot on Facebook, on our Facebook page, Cedar Run Farm. We always create an event page for our events. We always promote the event and or posts related to the event. This one we're having an event on October the 16th for our fall touring market. And we will have promoted that one for a full month on Facebook. So you pay a dollar amount for that to go out in front of probably 2,000 to 3,000 people a day to get more traffic to our events. Maybe not always a month, but at least a week promotion. And then underneath the event, I do multiple postings under the event. Promotions about the food, the treats, the restaurants that are going to be there, how the tours go, just to create a lot of traffic to the Facebook page and the event, stay out in front of people every day. And any events that we go to leading up to our events, we're going to be at a couple vendor shows in the next couple weeks. I take flyers with me and put them in all the sales bags, talk about it a lot, promote it quite a bit while I'm at those events. Just again, generating a lot of traffic and interest in the event. So that's typically how those events happen. You know, there's a lot of planning in terms of making sure your facility is very clean, pristine, inside, outside. We make sure the landscaping looks nice. We make sure the grass is mowed. If it's like in October, in the winter, we make sure, you know, everything's free of snow and ice, everything's safe. We have people work for us just managing parking, managing traffic on our long driveway, make sure we have porta potties for people to use, make sure everything's clean. Just think through everything from the time, if you were attending the event, from the time you would get there till the time you would leave. What would you notice? What would you be thinking about? What would you, you know, pay attention to? And we try to think through all of that and make sure everything is hospitable and safe for our guests. So, you know, you need to do that. Outside of our maple farm, at my parents-in-law's house, we also have a Christmas tree farm. So every weekend in December, Friday through Sunday, and then by appointment outside of that, we're open. We have a shop there too. Our old sugar house has been converted into a sales shop. So we have syrup products, hot chocolate, lattes for sale in the shop. And then, of course, we're selling Christmas trees. We sell a variety of our own trees. Either we cut or you cut. And then we do buy a bulk wholesale amount of pre-cut trees too for another option, another species of tree that we don't grow. So for that, again, a lot of Facebook promotion. We did some local TV ads last year. Those are very pricey. So, you know, you may or may not do that. We're not doing that again this year. It was helpful, but it was very pricey. Mainly Facebook. Lots of promotion, lots of posts, time and time again. Pay for extra promotion on Facebook for that type of thing. Again, just try to get a lot of traffic through advertising and Facebook and marketing to get back to us. And with that, again, you know, you got to think about, make sure everything's clean, everything's organized, you have restrooms, music, you know, whatever it is that would make the event hospitable, safe, and clean for your guests. Think of every detail, start to finish. I think our events are very successful. We have more and more attendance every year. We get more people to our shops all the time. People ask about them. They want to know when we're going to have them, when we're going to be open. So it's been very successful. Please check out our website, cedarrunfarm.com, or Cedar Run Farm on Facebook. Feel free to email me with questions you might have. It's info@cedarrunfarm.com. You can call me 304-410-6315. I'd be happy to help in any way I could. So good luck. Thanks for your time. Bye.
All right. So, computer was still playing YouTube. Okay, so Betsy covered a lot of information there, all about her events on every aspect. So we'll turn it over to Elizabeth and Frank if you all want to talk about what you do on Kirkwood Winery event-wise, but specifically get to how you book your bands. You all just had your grape stomp with lots of great acts this year. And then how you host weekend long festivals and what does that look like? So I will turn it over to you guys.
Okay. Well, our festival is always the third weekend in September, and that's when we harvest grapes. So we do have the Grape Stomp Festival every third weekend in September. But we start planning a good bit early in the year. Usually around January, February, I get started looking for bands. And what we like to do is we like to have one big band that everyone has heard of. So in years past, we've had the Kentucky Headhunters, we've had Confederate Railroad, and this year we had Bucky Covington. So I started looking for a big band, and I use an agent. He's in West Virginia. It's called RMA Presents, and he can book anybody for you from, small guy to Brad Paisley if you want him. So, you can get anybody through him, and we just start looking at who we want to get, who we think might attract some people. And usually I try to book by April on our big guy. And then after that, I start following in with some local talent, West Virginia local. I like to get people that's been, on The Voice or American Idol. So on Friday, we have two bands, Friday evening. Saturday, we usually have 5 bands. So it's all day long, starts about 11 o'clock, and we end about 9 at night. So it's nonstop music. There's about 15 or 20 minutes in between each band. And so we're real quick. And in between the bands, we like to have our grape stomp competitions. We have some barrels set up. People get in, stomp grapes as a competition, see who can get the most juice out. And we have a pit we have open all day for anybody who wants to stomp grapes during the day. So we book our bands, and which is very pricey. By the time you pay for 7 to 8 bands, it gets into quite a bit of money. So we like to use sponsorship, and we go out in the community, and we have a lot of businesses that will give us sponsorship money. We've got 3 different packages we offer, and with that, we give them advertising. Their name goes on stage. They've got signs all around. We talk about, in between bands, we talk about our sponsors to give them, bang for their buck. And we, through that, we're able to hire some of these bands. The gate money usually pays for some of the lower bands. And we also use sponsorship for motel rooms, because some of the bigger bands you book, they like to have rooms and food and all that. So we actually get motels to sponsor us instead of monetary. They just donate some rooms, and we advertise for them. We use advertising to get the word out, and TV and radio. that also is on sponsorship. So we rarely pay for any advertising when it comes to radio and TV. We give them tickets so they can give away on the air, and they'll talk about our festival for us for, several weeks before the event actually happens. And so, we get advertising as far as TV and radio, at a very cheap price. We do pay for a lot of print, newspaper ads, and posters, and all that to get the word out there. And again, a lot of Facebook. So we get our bands, and we usually hire a sound guy, good quality sound guy. These bands are all self-sufficient. They have their own equipment and all that, but it takes time for one band to take their equipment off stage and another band bring theirs up. So we hire a sound guy. He has all the equipment. So these bands, all they have to do is plug and play. When they're done, they can unplug. They walk off stage. We have our 15, 20 minutes to do our little events, talk about our sponsors. The next band's up there. They plug in and they're ready to go. So it's good quality music. We attract a lot of people from around West Virginia and surrounding states. And also, when you put something like that on, like anybody knows, you need a lot of help. So we usually figure about 15 to 20 people we beef up our staff with. People parking cars, wine tasting, just runners that, take care of the trash, people in our store, people at the gate. And that's another thing we do too. We use a local bank, to run our front gate, and they do sponsorship for us too. So they donate labor, some of their bank tellers, and they work the gate for us. And we give them, of course, advertising, and the people who work, they get free admission into our event. They work 2-hour shifts, and then they get to come in and hang out for the day. So other than that,
We do use Eventbrite for ticket sales, advanced ticket sales. We can have folks go right to our website and purchase tickets in advance. Then at the gate, we just scan those tickets when they come in. That saves a lot of time in line, and it saves on your cost of your ticket. We do have different prices for advanced tickets and tickets at the gate. And Eventbrite is they do charge a fee for tickets, but it does save you time and money, and it is a great way to sell advanced tickets. We've done that a couple of years in a row now, and folks are increasingly using Eventbrite. They use it a lot for lots of bigger concerts and things, so people know about Eventbrite, and that's a great way for people to buy advanced tickets and help save you time at the gate as well. So that's something that we found that is helpful. I know events that serve alcohol. We do, of course, at the winery have wine tastings and sales. And in order to do that at our event, we have to get a special event license. So that is something that if you serve alcohol, this year we added beer to that license, and we sold beer at our grape stomp festival. And you have to file that application with the state of West Virginia ABCA to do alcohol at any event. So that's something that has to be filled out. You can go right on the ABCA licensing website, print those off, fill out the information. You do have to have your hands fingerprinted. Those have to be on file with the ABCA too, if you've never had any other licensing from the ABCA. That is a must when you do alcohol at an event. It does increase, I think, the number of folks that come out to an event. I know if you're doing Christmas trees or maple syrup, those are kind of events. But like Josh had Hawk Knob, you know, when you have alcohol, and you have music, it always increases, you know, ticket sales, I think. So that's something that we, you know, you have to do if you're going to serve alcohol.
There's also a lot of coordinating that goes on with an event like that too. I mean, you have to start thinking way ahead of time. You know, we start bulking up on our bottling. We, of course, summer is a lot of festivals, and we do have a distributor that also, you know, requires a certain amount of cases of wine each summer. So you have to start thinking about your festival, start, you know, bulking up on your inventory. We give away free glasses as people come in the gate to our grape stomp. So you got to get all that designed and ordered and to you. And
we sell T-shirts, you know, we have a special T-shirt that we do. So those things, if you're going to, you know, include those kind of things, those also take planning and take time to, you know, to get those things organized and ordered. So those are all things that you have to think about too if you're going to have a festival, and include those kind of things in your sales to, you know, to boost sales while you're having your fair festival.
This festival's turned into, you know, it's quite the undertaking with the bands and all. So it does require, basically it's a year-round planning thing for that. You know, as soon as we're over in September, usually, you know, take a couple months break, and then we start planning again, because there's a lot to it, you know, a lot to think about. And but it's always been a pretty successful festival. We have a big turnout, people have a good time, and it you know, it's well worth it. We enjoy it ourselves. So.
Mm-hmm.
Can you all clarify real quick? So the tickets for your all's Grape Stomp, I know it's Friday and Saturday. Does the same ticket get you in both days, or is it each per day?
Yeah, we do a different ticket for each day.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure. Cool. So thanks. I took some notes because I honestly never thought about how much inventory it takes too for you guys to make sure that you have the numbers and you're not running out of flavors through the time. And I have never heard a local bank working the gates in all the farms that I've talked to. So that's super cool that you are working with a couple different partners to really minimize your costs.
Right.
So I will say to anybody on with us this evening, if you guys have any questions as the folks are chatting, feel free to drop those into the chat box, and we'll get those answered at the end of everybody here this evening. So we will go next to Michelle, if you want to talk about your events and festival with CW Corn Maze, and how you also host groups like you just hosted this past weekend with the young farmers and ranchers with Farm Bureau.
If you don't care, can you skip me? My son has to use the restroom.
Yep, we'll go to Josh and we'll come back to you. No
Okay.
big deal. All right, Josh, let's talk to you and how you do your events. I know this summer you had an art and crafts fair with some local people there. So how you organize that, and anything else you do on the cidery there.
Yeah. Well, so Hawk Knob, we're a farm winery, and I kind of specialize in hard cider, obviously. But I'd say a big part of having these agritourism events is it's a opportunity to tell your story, so to speak. So we do as much as we can to. A big part of our brand, you know, everybody's brand and what they're into is completely different, but a big part of our brand is kind of the tie to the local heritage of cider making and you know, and all the stories that tie into that. So we try to kind of bring that through in the events that we do. So the event that you just mentioned was an arts and crafts festival. So we had a little bit of a focus on local artisans that basically they're most of the artists that we invite in had they're making stuff from scratch, from bark and leaves and whatever, but a lot of different beautiful artwork that they had. But we probably had 26 different vendors in there, and that was the first time we actually tried that sort of event, was an arts and crafts festival. And to the licensing and such that that Frank and Elizabeth mentioned, I had to, unbeknownst to me, I had to go through my county and get some approval for an event permit to do that, just because of the zoning issue. So when you guys, whoever's watching this, depending on what your zoning is and where your farm's located, not every municipality or county is as what would be that? They're not as forward looking into agritourism as everybody else may be. So look into your local ordinances before you throw one of these events. So I got a county permit to have a arts and crafts festival, and it was quite successful. Again, with the folks from Kirkwood said, Facebook's our most powerful tool. I've done a lot of newspaper advertisement. And we've been featured in major magazines over time. Just recently in the international magazine, Travel and Leisure. I honestly can tell you the response that we get, or can tell there at the tasting room, is primarily from Facebook. If we're getting a response through advertisement, it's primarily through Facebook. The written, I still use some print advertisement. Don't get me wrong; it still has a place. But Facebook's a powerful tool, and I highly advise that people utilize it. Yeah. So outside of that, other events that we've done in the past, we did a heritage festival, which really what we did this year is we replaced the heritage festival with an arts and crafts festival, because it was a busy year and we didn't have the time and planning to put in that Frank had mentioned is necessary to put on a proper festival. So the heritage festival in the past we actually roast hogs, cook apple butter, and do all of the things that I kind of grew up doing where I grew up, and a lot. I remember going to a handful of little country festivals back in the day that people were roasting or cooking apple butter and such. You hardly see it anymore. So I was kind of trying to bring that back. I did 2 weeks of advertisement on Facebook for that festival, and we had 300 people show up. And that was quite a turnout in my book and for us. So don't undermine what Facebook can do for you. Outside of that, I think, with the people that have already spoken about, the logistics and that sort of thing, I might break off on a bit of a tangent on another aspect of these agritourism events, which is that story you can tell. This is an opportunity to get your product in front of people and put a face on your product. So I can tell you, being in the wine industry, that some of my largest accounts that are like resorts, really big high-end accounts, those sorts of places, they're not going to bring your product in just because you tell them a good story or because the product's good. Even they're bringing your product in because they think it's going to make the numbers right. And basically, I've picked up those sorts of accounts because the public is demanding to know what is local in the region that they're visiting. And here in West Virginia and in Appalachia in general, but particularly here in West Virginia, we've got a rich story to tell. And so when you can tie that into your brand and tie that into your events and use that opportunity to tell that story, it's really what people are looking for. It's a lot of us aren't the best at getting up in front of people and tooting our own horn, but really that's what the event's for, in a way. And I think we ought to view it that way. It's a way to put a face on your product, meet the clientele, and tell them about why you're doing what you're doing and why you do it the way you do. And so I think it would behoove people to consider that when they're running their events. It's not just about a big sales day, It's a marketing and branding day as well. Now, I don't have a whole lot more to say. I don't actually run a lot of events at Hawk Knob. We most of our business is the tasting room itself. And so we do bring bands in, but nothing at the scale that Kirkwood's is doing there. Most of that's, I'd like to have a constant presence. I like to have a constant presence and have something happening at all times and be active in the social media and have something going on, even if it's small scale. So some of these agritourism events don't need to be a massive event. They can be, there's a band and there's something unique happening this weekend, whatever it may be at your farm or place of business. Some of those in the past for us have been dinner pairings. Where we have a special guest chef. Again, you have to look into licensing when you do that sort of thing. So we have chefs that hold their own licenses, and then you have to involve the health department and so forth. But having constant interaction with the public and the clientele is useful if you're trying to build your brand over time into something that is known for more than just events itself. And I'm trying to promote my brand and the products that we produce through these events. So that's just a point I'd like to make there. Anyway, unless you have some questions, that's about all I could contribute.
I do have some questions for you, Josh, but we'll let Michelle tell her little spiel, and then we'll ask the questions here at the end. But appreciate you sharing, and I think that what you say of telling your story, and then events is also a way for us to find new customers, right? And that's why we host them, is to pull different aspects of life into our businesses, and that's the biggest thing is your target audience, but how do we expand that? And events is a great way to do that. So Michelle, if you are ready, we will turn it over to you.
Good evening, guys. I have a 3-year-old in the house, so I just apologize if you hear him running or crying. But my husband and I, we own and operate CW's Corn Maze. We are located in rural Pocahontas County with a population of about 7,000 people. We are not nearly as big as some of these other corn mazes throughout the state, but that's okay with us. We have something to offer our community and our surrounding county, so we feel that we are gradually growing and it's also manageable for just my husband and I. So again, we are only 3 years old. We started in 2019 and we've had a great season thus far. This is going to be our biggest season. We do have other events here on the farm. I know this past weekend we just did the West Virginia Farm Bureau Fall Farm Tour. So we had a group of about 30 or 35 people come out to our sheep barn. We have a very large sheep barn. It was a cost share program through NRCS. And within that barn, we have the capability to house 1,200 ewes. So it's basically a confinement barn. We've had several groups come out to that, to tour that. If you know the Wilfongs, they have a lot of cattle, sheep, crops. So whenever we have a group coming, that gives us a good excuse to clean up the farm a little bit. So I always like to pick on Charles and say, hey, we have a group coming. It's cleanup day on the farm. So that's kind of our running joke as to when we have groups coming out. We've also done other events on the farm, such as a 24-hour shear-a-thon. We had a sheep shearer who wanted to beat the current U.S. record for the amount of lambs shorn in 24 hours. So we hosted that at the farm. We've also done a stock show clinic for the local youth in Pocahontas County. Whenever we do have an event such as those on the farm, we also reach out to our insurance provider and make sure that that is covered under our insurance, or if we need to add an additional policy, we definitely do that. We feel that it is definitely better to be safe than sorry. We have a group coming to the corn maze this Friday. I also have a group coming next Friday, and then we have a few other groups in between. For me personally, I am still teaching part-time. So whenever we have a group come in, I have to take off a day of work, and I also have to recruit help for that, whether it be from school or previous students who may be home from college or who have a day off for work. So that has kind of been a challenge for me, is finding help, because right now my husband, he's chopping corn, so he can't be there to help me, and that's definitely a challenge for us that I found personally. We do a lot of Facebook advertising. I've definitely ramped that up this past year by doing live videos. Something that is super, super challenging for us here in Pocahontas County is we don't have cell phone service, and due to the Green Bank Observatory. So over at the corn maze, which is 10 hours from where our home farm is, again, we don't have cell phone service. So everything is cash. He's a dinosaur. Everything is cash or card for us. We do not have cell phone service. So I have to do a lot of pre-planning on Facebook and doing live videos, reminding people of that. So that has definitely been a challenge for us to overcome. To get groups to come out to the corn maze, something that I've done this year is to send letters out to individual schools and just telling them about the farm, providing them with some pictures of the farm, offering group rates and things like that. I also work closely with the Pocahontas County Convention and Visitors Bureau. They have been great to work with promoting our events. They also help us with our advertising cost. And this is something new that I've done this year. That has really helped. These are posted in our community. They go home with students in elementary schools. The only thing that the Bureau asks is that we have their logo, which I don't know if you can see it. It's up here in the corner. And they also ask that we partner with local overnight locations such as Cass or motels in Marlington or Green Bank to promote them as well. So that does definitely help them, and it helps us in getting large groups to come to the corn maze as well.
Great, thanks, Michelle. You also did your first farm to table dinner as well, didn't you? Sure.
Yes, this past June we did our first farm to table dinner. We started selling our own beef, pork, and lamb last year. So I decided that since we have that meat, we should try to serve that as well as other local vegetables from people in our community. It was a great success. We had it at the lower part of our farm, which is my favorite place on the farm. We set up a tent. Again, we don't have electric down there, so we had to use generators and stuff to do that. But it was a great success. Here on the farm, we don't have any alcohol. We're not big into alcohol or wine or anything, so none of our events we do feature that. We do not feature that. Honestly, I don't know if we ever will here on the farm, just because my father-in-law thinks that that's that will cost more and we have to get more additional insurance. So if we do continue to grow, I might look into that in the future, but at this point, I don't think we will.
Thanks, Michelle. I think that everybody that spoke this evening definitely mentioned insurance, and that's something that you definitely want to make sure that you talk with your insurance agent, whether it's your farm or hopefully you have farm insurance that covers that. There is agritourism, farm insurance, specific agents, and I have the list for that. If anybody needs that, feel free to reach out. But I want to ask a few questions, and these are just up for grabs, anyone that's dealt with them. We heard from everybody that Facebook is probably your biggest tool of marketing, and Betsy says that she does pay for those to be like the sponsored ads and to reach more. Does anybody else find that the paid is worth what you do, or are you solely organic reaches?
Well, I'll jump in and say, give my experience. I imagine everyone has a little bit different experience. I'd say Facebook's across the board. So organically, when you first start up, I'm just saying, if you haven't paid for it before, then you might get a significant organic reach. The moment you pay for ads, it seems to skew the reach that your organic ads get to. So for me, definitely the paid ads, it's a massive difference. Also, it's useful if you're going to target your market geographically, particularly when you do the paid ad, you can zone in on specific towns within a mileage radius. You can zone in on a particular region and say, hey, I want this ad hitting there, and don't even bother elsewhere. So that's a useful tool if you're trying to market to a specific geographic demographic. Say that you got a West Virginia company somewhere over here in along any one of our borders, and you want to target a major town in a bordering state. Well, just blast that town specifically. It's a very useful tool on the paid advertisement side of it. I hate to advertise for Facebook, but I'm just telling you, it's functional.
It is what it is, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Do you all pay Elizabeth and Frank for your promotions for the Grape Festival, or is it pretty much an organic reach?
It's pretty much organic through Facebook and Instagram. So we've never paid for the target advertising, which we thought about doing it this year. But we do, like I said, we get a big reach through our radio and TV ads, and I'll be honest with you. I mean, I'm not a social media kind of guy, so I limp along with the social media. So I do the best I can on just pretty much the organic ad, and so far that's all we've done.
I'd say don't spend the money if you don't have to.
Well, I hate social media. I hate
Same
using,
here.
and I know that is how, I mean,
That's the way of the world.
That's the way of the world, and that is something that we probably need to start doing, but it's just something that we just haven't, focused on at this point. We're a little older, and
we're still
real
old school.
savvy
We're
with
trying
it.
to.
I honestly wish I didn't have to use it. I hate it myself, but it's just yeah.
Bob relies on that, and she did our post at first, and she was doing a lot more for it. She is really busy, and she's in Charlotte, and it's hard to do that from afar. So you really need a social media person, and we just don't have that person right now. So that's something that we have to work on. That is something that we would love to have a social media person that would just put those ads out there and get content and have all kinds of good things to put out. And sometimes it's a struggle for us, but we're on the struggle bus when it comes for that social media. So that's one thing we need to improve on. So.
Well, don't feel bad, guys. You know, people actually go to college and get 4-year degrees in just social media these days. So it is a bear. So, but we're happy to help in any way that we can if you need assistance with your social media. For folks that are getting started into hosting events, does anybody have any advice on how to approach your neighbors, or if you've ever had a conflict with your neighbor about an event, how that's worked out for you? I know from the farm that I came from, we had a 6-week fall festival, lots of traffic on their little 1-lane road. So at the end of the season, we would take them a goodie bag of all of our homemade treats, just to kind of say thanks for putting it up with it. So, what's some other things that you all have done or seen or had to do with your neighbors in your parts of the world?
Well, most of our neighbors, you know, that festival's been around for 30 years. So most of our festivals, our neighbors are used to that. In fact, they actually enjoy it. Most of them attend. So, you know, and we do during the, you know, we reach out to our closest people around, and we're always there to help them. We have one guy that lets us park cars in the field, so we do a lot of mowing for him and weed eating along the creek banks. Try to help him out a little bit too. So we just try to, you know, be real friendly with all of our neighboring farms. There's a lot of farms out there. We have smaller events that doesn't make so much noise, but this one, you know, in September it's a pretty noisy event, but it only happens once a year. They expect it, they know it's happening, and usually they're there, so we don't have too much problem with any of our neighbors. So that's a good thing.
I would just say be open and honest with your neighbors. Tell them what you're up to, what your plans are, and most of the time you're going to find they don't have a problem with it. I mean, we're talking about agritourism here, so we're out in the country in most of these places, and most folks want other people to prosper and have a successful business. And I think just openness and honesty will get you a long way.
Michelle, you have anything to add on this one? Do you guys have neighbors that you've dealt with for the past 3 years?
We do not. Our location for the corn maze is along Route 66, which is on the way to Cass and Snowshoe. So we own the property on both sides of the road. And for us, we don't have necessarily a designated field or anything for people to park. They just park along the main road, which is, of course, maintained by the state road. So far, we haven't had any encounters pertaining to that.
So you have the dream agritourism destination, because not most farmers don't have that luxury. And you all mentioned a good point, communication. I think that communication is a big part for not only our neighbors and who we're dealing business with, but for our customers as well. So we talked about that, or Betsy talked about that in her video, you know, being upfront with, you're going to walk a half a mile on this tour in gravel. And from my side on the social media aspect, I think that that's super important for your customers and their overall experiences. Hey, I know it's muddy today, so I'm going to wear my rain boots, because Michelle got online and said we had huge amount of rain last night. So we're going to go, but we're going to know that our shoes are going to be muddy before we leave. And the overall experience of your farm or event, I think, can be heavily relayed on the communication that you have with your audience before they get there, and to know where to park and know where to get their tickets, and to have the signage pointing them in the right way. And if I pull into the driveway and have no idea which barn to go to, then you're already starting off on a wrong foot. So I did just want to make that comment real quick and echo that. Elizabeth and Frank, you all talked about t-shirts and your yearly kind of merchandise. Do you guys have like numbers that you follow for every year, sizing wise? Do you just try to order like 250 total shirts? What does that look like for you all?
That is something that I do keep track of every year. How many I ordered of each size, what's left over from year, kind of get an idea of what you need, and from your attendance the previous year, how many t-shirts am I going to need to order. That way, you kind of keep those records. We keep Frank and I have owned the winery for 4 years, so we've been doing this now for our 4th year, and we just try to keep that information. I always look back when I'm going to prepare to do the ordering for those things, so that I can kind of see and have an estimate of what we're going to need, so that I don't have all these extra t-shirts left over. And we usually cover for the staff. We get enough t-shirts for folks that are working for us, so that they all have their festival t-shirts on too. And we like to to make sure that everybody's know who the staff is, when they're on the property, and can ask questions or find what they need. So we do try to keep records from year to year of what you're going to need. Ticket wise too, Frank always does the ordering of the tickets that we give out for promotion, and then we have pre-sales of tickets. The banks in the area always sell tickets for us, so we always keep track of all that information, how many tickets we're going to need, pre-orders, and just keep records of the things that you've done in the previous year, and then you always want to plan a little bit bigger. You hopefully things will grow. This last year with the pandemic, things were down just a bit for our festival, but we felt we had a good turnout, considering what was 2019.
We also get shirts for all our sponsors too. We put their logo on the back of the shirt. That's part of their advertising, and we make sure all of our sponsors get a t-shirt too. So we always ask what size shirt they want, and the leftover shirts, we just we give a lot out to family and friends. Hey, if someone's wearing the shirt, it's
walking advertising.
It's walking advertisement, for our sponsors, and of course our name's on there as well. So, and then we always put a few in the store just to, some people like to buy them later on and all that. So, but yeah, we order. How many shirts we ordered this year?
I think we had 200 this year.
Yeah, about 200 shirts. What we ordered.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, for sharing that. I think t-shirts are always a bear of you have no idea what to order, how many. So appreciate your input there. We'll end with one last question, but I will ask that each of you, when you answer this question, just maybe say your contact information if anybody watches this later and wants to ask you a specific question, where they can reach you all at communication-wise. But the last question, and I'll ask each of you to answer it, will be if I'm an agritourism farmer that is about to host my first event on my farm, what's your biggest piece of advice or takeaway for me and my farm? So we'll start with Elizabeth and Frank and work around.
Well, I think, just go into it and not get discouraged. Just plan your event, let it happen. People's going to enjoy it. And, there's always a little bit of stress that comes along with it, but just enjoy it and let it happen, and people will show up. People will come, and it will always work out. It always seems to be turned out to be a good thing.
questions. So if you have any questions or want to get with us, you can get info@kirkwood-wine.com or you can call the winery at 304-872-7332.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Oh, there he is. Josh, do you want to go next for us? You're on mute.
Didn't hear
You're
you.
muted, Josh.
Okay, you got me now?
Yeah, you're good now.
All right, my dog's barking at some coyotes and my phone's dying, so I better do it now. Yeah, I'd say exactly like Frank and Elizabeth said. I would say though it's a balance between overthinking it and getting your T's crossed and I's dotted. So take the time to look at your county ordinances. Look at make sure everybody that needs to know about what you're doing does know about what you're doing, and then just have fun with it. Go out and do it, and move forward. People are looking for this sort of thing. More and more people are looking to get out in rural areas and experience a farm setting and even like the corn maze, for instance. Maybe they're not there to buy a specific product, but they're there to have a rural experience. And then in my case, they're out there to find a product that's from that region and that area and meet the people that made it and how they made it. People want to know about this kind of thing, and they're out there to have fun. They're not coming out there to have a bad time. So just make it happen for them. And yeah. And you can reach me if people have questions or want to contact me. You can reach me at Josh, Josh, @hawknob.com. Hawk like the bird, knob like the mountain.
Hi, all right, thanks, Josh. Michelle, what about you? What do you have information-wise and your contact information?
I would encourage people to just give it a shot. I mean, you're not out anything, so don't be afraid to try something new. And people will talk no matter what you do. Some will be in support and some will maybe have a negative comment or something, but ignore them. Go on. As long as you're happy, that's all that really matters. And we can be reached at CW's Corn Maze or Wilfong Farms on Facebook. And our email address is wilfongfarms@yahoo.com. I would give you our phone number, but we're really bad about checking messages.
Email is definitely best for Michelle, who doesn't have cell phone service. Got it. Guys, I appreciate you so much. Again, my name is Maggie Parsons, and I am the Agritourism Marketing Specialist here at the Department of Agriculture. If you have any questions for me, the easiest way to reach me is agritourism@wvda.us. This video will be posted on our YouTube channel at West Virginia Department of Ag's YouTube channel for anything that you want to go back and listen to. But guests, we appreciate you. We appreciate your businesses more than you know. And you know that I'm always here for whatever you all need. And we can't wait to see your all's events grow and more to get on your books. So we appreciate it, and I hope everybody has a great evening. Thanks, guys, for tuning in.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Maggie.
Thank you. Have a good one.